So here we are with the final round of Swiss of our November 2014 tournament, taking out the Gloucester Death Association building. Myself there on the right, playing Making News once more. And yes, that will be the 2014 Top 8 World Championship map. You'll see there on the left, which could mean only one thing. It's national champion Dave Hoyland playing me in the final round of Swiss. Not exactly what you want, not going to lie, but nevertheless, it's good. It was a fun tournament, I really enjoyed it. He's actually playing some more experimental, I'm not going to say janky because, you know, that's probably the phrase that he would use to express it, but some more experimental decks that he likes to play with rather than his perhaps, you know, world-class, I'm going to beat everyone kind of decks. He's playing Leela Patel, who he grew increasingly fond of the more he played her, so I double sweep Sweek. At that point he's very, very pleased he isn't running Andromeda, which would be his normal fare, and is instead running Patel. Patel, again, is a really interesting ability, and I think Dave's in the midst at the moment of writing up an article for the site, actually, that's Netrunners.co.uk, we're just dealing with the tech of Patel in general, so keep your eyes open for that. Hopefully it'll be posted up in the month or so. Again, he really, really likes the kind of 1-2 punch of scoring or stealing an agenda, and then having to bounce something back to hand. It can work very, very well, and obviously it's perfect against taxing setups like Blue Sun and things of that nature as well. He runs HQ, sees a Draco, after having sure gambled and dirty laundered his way through. So all very, very evenly placed economy in an economy sense. Dave knows my deck very well. Again, we play a lot together, and as a result, not a lot's going to surprise him in this instance. I do try and include a surprise or two in most decks, but invariably they don't quite work out the way that I would want them to. And so I'm going to... Him knowing the deck is definitely going to play in his favour here, there's no denying it, and I know that I'm going to have to play a very, very, very strong, very solid game to keep him out here. Obviously he won't thank me for saying things like this, but he's a very good player, nevertheless, and as a result I do have to play a very good game here. He will install what looks like a security testing, and he will play a double sure gamble. That's all 3 sure gambles played now, so I mean there's no doubt that he's got a plethora of money to be able to use. Using those rather funky, I think it was the first promo credit tokens that you got for winning a tournament. I think he earned an extra couple sets while he was over at Worlds as well, but greens are 5s and red, the orangey ones are 1s, just in case you're unsure. So I'm going to install a remote. So we've got a wraparound there as well in hand as a Draco. We've got NAPD. Is that a snatch and grab maybe? Not sure. I'm going to install Knight It Up. Bait him possibly into using an inside job. He's going to security test against archives. No Desperado yet, so not the end of the world. Still gains 2 credits for a click. Hey, it's a Magnum Opus level. Fantastic. He's going to draw. And again, he knows how to play against this deck, and I can't overstate that enough. He knows that the correct solution is just to play a very casual, very careful game, not to be too aggressive, particularly against centrals, where damage can be done quite quickly, but rather just to take your time, put the pressure on the remote servers, and try and prevent me from scoring out. When the time does come, go aggressive, go very fast, and try and take all the cards out of HQ, invariably they end up build up because I have no place to install them. I do have an Astro Script in hand, which hopefully may alleviate that if I can score it somewhat. I'm pretty sure he runs 3 inside jobs in this deck, so it's I have to be very, very cautious of that and double ice all my remotes and try and keep him out. No icebreakers as yet, so no immediate worry. Certainly has to be careful of the Scorched Thread as well, he knows. And I think, there we go, he has in fact seen a Plascrete. Oh no, it's a Fairy, sorry. Which is again a fantastic card against this deck as well. Not unexpected. Also does very well against information overload if you start taking tags. But as I say, the correct solution against this deck is to not take tags. You know, with a Manhunt on the board or a Data Raven, you just can't afford to do it. He will play what looks like a Plascrete and a Fairy, so he's got both on the board now. You have to excuse the glare, like I say, this was definitely the wrong place to record the videos. Starting to get a few agendas in hand now, but I'm going to play a Manhunt out, which should hopefully alleviate any pressure on the centrals, and install there. That could very well be the Astro Script, in which case that's probably a mistake. I have to hope here that he doesn't inside job it. Got a feeling he probably knows that it is an agenda. You can have a quick double check of the manhunt. As I say, we do play a lot against each other. I think at this stage we haven't played this deck a huge amount. He definitely played a couple of different iterations of it. I think he just wanted to double check and make sure he's going to run. And I think see a wraparound, yes indeed. And it'd be interesting to see how he responds to this now. Looks like he's got a special order in hand, so worst case scenario he can go special order and find the corroder. No, he's in fact going to play... Oh, it's Lady. It's Lady. Yeah, that'll do just as well. So he'll play the Lady for 4. Again, it's a great card. He'll break it for free, effectively. Manhunt still triggers, so it'll be Trace 4 before access. A successful run. He will score the Astro, at which point Manhunt goes off the board. And as I say, I think this was a significant misplay here on my part. I should have waited. I think the Manhunt was doing the work it needed to do, and losing it, I think, really affects the board position quite heavily here. That Lady being on the board is going to negate those wraparounds. I don't have a lot of barriers in this deck. Obviously now he gets to bounce a card back because he's stolen agenda, so he bounces back that piece of ice. I'm not sure what it is, can't quite recall. I do get one for the pad campaign and I'll draw. I see a Shinobi there in hand. Not sure what that is. Is that a universal connectivity fee? Could very well be. I think it might be. Which is far better at the root of a server rather than up top. I try and encourage them to take a tag on their way through and then lose all their money. And he's still got 16 credits, so that's not the end of the world, certainly. That would be a good trade-off for me. I'm going to install over R&D. I have to take 2 credits. Got a couple of agendas in hand. I think I've got another Astro there potentially, as well as an NAPD. He's going to draw. See another. I think he's got an RDI there. Going to draw again. Going to lucky find. He's going to pass the turn. So yeah, I've got an Astro. I've got to close the counts. Got a Shinobi and a pop-up window. Not in a bad place, but I don't have much in the way of tagging here. I'm not even sure if I've got any data ravens or information overloads down on the board at this stage either. So, a challenging situation. I will install, and I'm going to take a credit, or take 2 credits because I didn't pay for the install. Pass the turn, at which point Dave will draw. And again, he knows he doesn't have to rush. This isn't an Astrobotic style deck. He just has to take his time, be very careful, very cautious, pick his runs, put pressures on the remote servers, and try and lock me out for as long as he possibly can. He's got to be careful of successful runs here, just in case I'm packing a sea source. Don't think I am, but obviously it's always a potential with any deck carrying Scorches. He is going to lucky find. So I mean, he's seen all his burst economy pretty much off the bat there. 2 lucky finds, 2 dirty laundries, and 3 sure gambles. You can't say fairer than that. And I'm certainly not going to be able to keep up with him economically here particularly. And he's on 2 points, having stopped my Astro as well. Looks like he's going to take a credit and pass the turn. So I'm going to get my money for pad campaign. Just to remind you that my oranges are 3s, blues are 2s, greens are 1s. So I've now got another piece of ice there. Is it 3 agendas in hand? 2 agendas? 2 agendas, I think. Double wraparound, I believe. Interesting. I'm going to install and take 2. He will draw. Certainly doesn't need that security testing anymore, but you've got a Plascrete on the board already. So my Scorch thread is already limited somewhat. I'm going to be lucky here if I can Scorch him. The closed accounts will help. It'll be a good tempo play. And it's another card, interestingly, that I've removed in the interim. He's going to play out the R&DI. Again, I like the closed accounts, but it's just in a way too many cards that sit in your hand doing nothing until they take tags. And actually giving the tags ends up being far more important. It's again, he looks like he's going to run R&D. That last click, that's a surprise. It's a surprise. But with a Fairy on the board and a Plascrete on the board, I dare say the risk is somewhat more limited. I'm not sure if he is or not actually here. I'm certainly not running anything like snares or anything of that ilk, so no, I think he's going to take credit. Seems sensible. Doesn't want to run the risk of leaving the turn with a tag. I will gain 1 for pad campaign. I'm not sure if I did my mandatory draw here. Is that a mid-seasons in hand? It could very well be. I'm going to draw. See a hedge fund, which I guess I'll play. Predominantly again, because with the mid-seasons now in play, this could very quickly become an economic battle. He's sat on 26 credits, and I am sat on 23, I think. 23 credits. So it's fairly even, though again he's got enough, I think, to avoid the mid-seasons for the most part. It's going to be very close. And with the Plascreed out, again, it might not necessarily do enough. He's going to run R&D here, first click. I am going to res the information overload, mainly because I've got to make these runs taxing with an R&D out on the board. And again, with the Plascreed on the board as well, my threats are diminishing quite significantly. As the outer piece of ice as well, there's always the threat that if he does take the tag, potentially he could hit a universal connectivity fee after it. So he's got to respect it. He has to clear the tag, or has to pay to beat the trace, or he has to, I think, probably jack out afterwards, just in case, because universal connectivity fee at this stage would definitely swing the game in my favour, and certainly change the whole dynamic of it. Got an emergency shutdown in hand, so I mean he could always 6 to res an information overload, so he could probably make that back fairly quickly. He is going to pay to beat the trace. He's going to carry on and see a pop-up window. So I mean, again, it wouldn't have been that much anyway, but I'll take the free money anyway. He'll access, see a pad campaign and a scorched earth. Knows a little bit more about the deck at the very least. And he's got everything he needs in hand. He's got a fem. Emergency shutdown, he's got a special order. Lots. He's certainly got the means to get into any server he needs to at this stage. And with all the burst economy pretty much gone, he's in a good position. Very good position. The only thing he hasn't seen is a Desperado, but that is a same old thing, which he can obviously use to, I guess, potentially bring out the lucky finds, or the special order if he wishes. Looks like I've drawn up into another pad campaign there. Shinobi's not going to do very much at the moment either, given that he's at an economic advantage. Could really do with seeing another manhunt here and stop those runs against R&D being productive for him. But I think I'm just going to install and take 2. I've got to try and at least give the impression of the threat of mid-seasons here, and I do have it in hand, so I mean it is a real threat. It's not me just bluffing here. Looks like he's going to security test archives. Again, he hasn't been security testing very much at all in this game. He's going to run first click on the pad campaign, which I don't think he's going to bother trashing. He's going to draw. Pay 3 to install Desperado, so he now does have the full suite, so to speak. And he's going to security testing at the end of the term on the pad campaign. So I've drawn up into my Scorch name. So that's 1 in hand. With the closed accounts and a Shinobi, the Shinobi's not going to do diddly squat as the board currently stands. Though obviously the universal connectivity fee could potentially swing that, as well as could the closed accounts. I need to make a tag hit, and I do have the mid-season to be able to do that. He's only on 2 points scored, so there is that as a possibility. I'm going to install the Shinobi on R&D. At the very least, hopefully it'll disincentivize, shall we say, as a fictitious word goes, his runs on R&D, and with an R&D eye out, I certainly can't afford that in a long-term game. And there's always the chance here, if I can make him use his fairy elsewhere, that I can potentially get him. Who knows? I think it's unlikely. Looks like he's digging for a Rex, and I suspect probably install it. Again, he's very, very fond of Rex. I think he's even gone up to 3 Rex in his Patel deck now at this stage. I think that may have changed in the interim, but as I know, last time I spoke with him, that was the case. Now assigned the Ferrero Rocher as the security testing marker, for those that are unsure. It's also kind of a double bluff in the sense that Dave Hoyland is incredibly allergic to nuts, and so I kind of use it as a weapon if you like, kind of a snare without a snare. You know, it's fine. If you come and run archives, you may poison yourself. That kind of an attitude, really. At least I know he's not going to be stealing them. Stealing a man's Ferrero Rocher would be a cardinal sin, I dare say. So I'm going to draw up. Again, plenty of money across the board in both instances. I think I may have overtaken him now, money-wise. He's sat on 19. I'm definitely sat on over 20 now. So this is interesting. 22, 25 I think I'm on. I'm going to install. Excuse me. And I'm going to take 2. So mid-seasons is on. It's on, and he's going to know that. Sat across MBM making news with that much money on the table. He's going to run HQ. He's going to try and make me rest some ice, but he's going to see a pop-up window which will swing it further back in my favour. Which I'm not going to argue about. He's going to carry on and see another pop-up window. So again, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And he's going to access. Just see the one card. He's going to score the Astro, which I'm pretty sure is, you know, the only agenda I didn't really want him to steal. But this does open up the mid-seasons play now. That was his first click. I imagine at this stage he's probably thinking about just trying to build up money. He's going to bounce back that card to hand. Which I think was another agenda, possibly the NAPD. And although I didn't advance it, I think the idea was to, again, get him to burn through the lady tokens, and then mid-seasons him after he stole it. And he's got 3 clicks left. The temptation here, I would imagine, is probably to... He's not going to steal my Ferrero Rocher again, as I've already mentioned he's allergic to them. I feel fairly safe in that. The temptation here, I guess, is to use this same old thing to Lucky Find and kind of put himself over the threshold of tags that he would potentially have to deal with after a mid-season's replacements. And I know it's a difficult one, but certainly now he's feeling the pinch. He's still got 2 agendas left to score, so he's only halfway through. He's got to be thinking here about just sucking it up and taking the punishment. He doesn't know how many Scorched Earths I have in hand, although he has a Plascreed out, which isn't the worst. Obviously that information overload becomes an absolute beast. He can get through it with the Fairy once, but after that it's a whole nother kettle of fish. So, you know, he knows this is a key turning point in the game. This is a crucial point for both of us. He's got to suspect the threat of mid-seasons, and I'm sure that's exactly what he's doing now. Going through the maths, and trying to envisage what the best circumstance will be for him. So let's see what he has. Obviously, you've got to be careful not to dip below 4 cards as well, just in case of the double Scorch. Mid-seasons and double Scorch could be a real problem, if I have the money to be able to do it. He's going to account siphon, which is perfect, absolutely perfect. And again, it's just to get him over the edge on money. So he will pay 2 to get through the pop-up windows. I'll gain 2 and lose 5. At which point he'll be able to take 10 and presumably clear both tags, which he does. And that just tips him over enough to be able to avoid the mid-seasons here. I'm fairly certain. I don't think I'm going to not play it, so I'm going to mid-seasons for 5. I think I probably should have just taken 2 credits first. So it's going to become... It's all about figuring out how to trace him here now. I've got to close the counts in hand. I think I may make a mistake here. Although we're very even on money, and I'm pretty sure that he has the option of breaking it, I think my logic is if I don't use all my money, and just make it, I think it's around about trace 18, 19, I think, as I recall from memory. If he does take the tags, I close the counts in, and I make him lose all his money anyway, and I've just gained the advantage of having lots of tags. He will pay the 20, so I think it's actually 22, 23 to get through and avoid the tags. Again, I think I'm making a mistake here. I think I could have just put in another 3 and still closed the counts in. And he would have ended up with an endless amount of tags, or he would have spent all his money avoiding them and still ended up with a couple. I think, you know, that mid-seasons play on my part was half-hearted. And look at that, perfect. He's got 2 credits left to account siphon on his turn. I gain 2, lose 5. He gains go back up to 10 with 2 tags, which he obviously will spend clearing them. And that is absolutely perfect. Takes him back up in the money. He could not have asked for a better top deck than that. And now the mid-seasons play is thoroughly off the table. I've got a handful of agendas because I haven't had the ability to score them. I'm pretty sure that remote's a double wraparound server. he's still got the lady there in hand. Sorry, the lady on the table with 3 counters. So he'd be able to get through it once at the very least. I've got another mid-seasons there, which isn't going to do a blind bit of difference. I'm going to install and advance. Oh no, I'm just going to install, take a credit, and pass the turn over. Ditching probably, I would imagine, the mid-seasons there, because that's not going to do any good at this stage in the game. And you know, he's well ahead of me in economy now as well, or at least about the same. He's going to draw and run, second click. See the double wraparound. So he's going to break both with 2 counters. That then, at the very least, means that he is in a position where he has to find another breaker, another lady or a corroder of some sort, to get through those wraparounds, because he will not have enough tokens on the lady to get through. And hopefully, you know, this is going to open up a scoring opportunity for me. Still has the inside job user counter play, which I should probably be aware of. He'll score breaking news for 1 point and go up to 5, which again is fine. And I think that was the idea. Bounce back a piece of ice, which was the Shinobi, which I think I had no intention of using really anyway. Very careful again to stay ahead of me economically. Put the pressure on the runner at servers. Don't let a card go through. I mean, of course, I could have scored that breaking news from hand, but 1 point agenda isn't going to do me any good at this stage. And just playing cautiously and carefully, he's going to dirty laundry R&D. Sorry, the security testing. There's the Ferrero Rocher, indicating that is the case. I'm going to take 2 from my bad campaigns and a mandatory draw with another information overload there. And as you can see, these cards aren't going to do a great deal of good at this stage. I really do miss seeing the data ravens here. You know, losing the early manhunt was a definite misplay on my part. And on these kind of small, and they weren't huge misplays, but on these small misplays, you know, the game really can turn on its head against a player of Dave's caliber, who I would argue is probably one of the best runners in the world. And you know, the Matt certainly isn't going to disagree with me at this stage. You know, he'll say himself, you know, his success at Worlds wasn't due to his corp domination; it was due to his success as a runner. And he has got to be one of the best. One of the best. Don't tell him I told you. So, again, I've got a Scorched in hand with a Plascrin on the board, not going to do a great deal. He's certainly not going to be foolish enough to hit an information overload full him on the face, now that he's seen them and knows what they do. He's got a Ferry on the board to be able to deal with one on a one-off anyway, so even if he does face check it, not the end of the world, he can just use the Ferry to get through and break it. Even with a buttload of tags, it won't cost Ferry any more to get through it. Just the 2 to get up to strength, I think it's 2, yeah. And he's still sat pretty on 14 credits, compared to my 7. Ahead of me economically. Desperado doing good work. Hasn't put a huge amount of pressure on R&D, despite having an R&D eye out. He's going to inside job now. Bypass the information overload. Pay 1 to get through the pop-up window. He's going to access 2 cards for the privilege, and we'll see what he gets. That'll be an Astra script, and that'll be the game. There couldn't have been many agendas left on R&D there. I had seen most of them. There's the Data Ravens that I needed, the Jackson Howards. It was going to be a while before an agenda. There we go. So yeah, it was a good 10 cards before the next agenda, but he picked his runs perfectly, knew exactly when to put pressure on the board, and how to do so. The inside job was a good call, and he had the ability to then obviously get into that double wraparound server as well with that inside job if I had installed into the remote. So some really good play there from Dave. Perfect pressure, exactly how you play against this deck. Take your time, don't rush, and just pick your runs at the key points for the win. And that is exactly what he did. So I go into the next game hoping for a split, because you know I know a split will probably put me in good price territory. A split against Dave is always an accomplishment, so it's going to be a big ask, but hopefully that'll be the case. And so join us for the final game of this tournament coming up shortly. In the meantime, join us over at Netrunners.co.uk for articles, forums and more. We hope to see you there, and see you for the final game of round 4.